And now we're live.
We are live.
All right.
Good evening to everybody who's tuning in here. Larry Mastropieri, real estate broker and owner of the Mastropieri Group, based right here in South Florida. I'm John Laws, who's joining in on the fun this evening. And before we get started, I just wanted to say happy Hurricane Eve to everybody out there who's observing the holiday. You know, all the kids are off school as Hurricane Helene is set to make landfall, I guess, in the next couple hours. It's upgraded to a Category 3, so that's fun and exciting.
Oh my gosh, I've been too busy doing real estate deals. I didn't even look. Okay. All right.
I mean, it was kind of funny. Like, well, it wasn't funny. It's horrible, and I'm sure people may die. But what was interesting was how, I was running a couple errands earlier, and this was like in the middle of the afternoon, and I see like all these kids out, and I'm like, well, what's going on? I'm like, I forget all the kids got off school for this. We're on the other side of Florida, and they still get off.
That's right. It's crazy. It's crazy. This morning when I got up, it was pretty nuts, but now it's like relatively calm over here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really raining. It's kind of howling. The winds are howling, kind of like, it's like screaming girls in the front row of a boy band concert. It's kind of what I notice right now.
Where is the hurricane supposed to make landfall?
Panhandle.
Okay.
I was looking a little earlier.
Now, that's something that's interesting. Panhandle, they get hammered. All right.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we kind of miss out on it a lot. Not that I'm complaining, but
yeah, exactly. I was having this discussion with an investor about kind of choosing where to buy, and he was looking at cheap property in the Panhandle versus expensive property here, and we were having that discussion about just like, well, believe it or not, some places in the Panhandle has negative population growth, so they're losing people, which is interesting. I didn't appreciate that until we did a little deeper dive into that, and so that's not great for economic trends if you're trying to invest in real estate. And then also we brought up the hurricane thing, which is just like, hey, it seems like they get hit way more than down here in South Florida. I don't know if that's true really, but that's how it feels, right? So that's what we were just kind of talking about that a little bit. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, the Gulf side got hammered. What was it, in 2022? Having friends who are still meteorologists and stuff, anytime there's significant weather events going on, I'm always in the know about that stuff, whether I want to be or not.
That's right.
So that's always something to keep in mind. All right, let's get started on some of the topics we have going on this evening. As the thumbnail would have suggested, we have a lot of new stuff that's coming to Florida, including 34 new laws that go into effect October 1st. And if that's a lot, I don't know what's normal, but a little context. Back in July, 200 state laws went into effect. So that seems like it's a lot more than that's got to be a lot. But anyway, so yes, in terms of, House bills and Senate bills and so on, 34 new laws have passed and will go into effect October 1st. And I only put down on our list here just ones that I thought were the most interesting. I mean, some of them, really weren't going to do it. But you can check if you do a search. I don't know if we have a blog up on it yet. We should. We'll yell at the interns later. But as of right now, no. The CBS affiliate in Orlando had a really nice story about it, and they had the whole list. So
that's right.
Go check that out. I'll give them a shout out because I think it's called Click 6 Orlando is their website, and they did a nice job. So that's all the praise they're going to get here.
And some of these are real estate specific laws or related somewhat or affiliated, but most are not. And so we'll go through some of these and that we found interesting.
Yeah. So I was going to start with House Bill 403, new license plates, which I didn't realize that it took an act of state Congress to introduce new license plates to the state, but here we are. And these new license plates come at an annual use fee of $25, in case you were wondering, including, I highlighted a couple here, Margaritaville in honor of the late Jimmy Buffett, and Universal Orlando. I know Larry likes going to Disney World a lot, and I assume they already have one for that, but hey, Universal Orlando, if you want that, We also have the Villages. We also have Recycle Florida, in case you forgot to recycle. And I don't know.
The
I just
Villages.
thought it was interesting that got an act that had to be an actual law passed.
It's true, and the Villages got their own license plate, huh? That's kind of interesting,
right?
They had somebody lobbying for their own license plate.
I hear a lot about the Villages.
Yeah, same. We won't get into that today, huh?
No, it's a family program. We'll try to keep it clean. Now the one right after I thought was pretty interesting. This was HB 549. This has to do with theft crimes, which I'm not a big fan of thievery or burglary. From the looks of it, this has to do with porch pirates. Which 20 years ago, you'd be like, "What the hell's a porch pirate?" But now, with Amazon Prime and everything else, people getting deliveries every day. You see the videos because so many have cameras now on their porch, and you'll see people just come up and just take your stuff and go. It's got to be kleptomaniac's paradise with a lot of these things. I can remember when you were at your last place, and and I'd stop by occasionally. You or Dana would have like huge stacks of boxes like at your front door. Did you guys never have people like just come? They could have so easily just come and taken stuff off your porch.
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more or hasn't happened more, frankly, to your point. So yeah. And yeah, occasionally something might not show up from what we think, and maybe it was taken in our neighborhoods. And so, yeah, this is good. I think this is good.
It's good. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just one of those that it's kind of like, the people who are stealing it, I don't think we're that worried about the law to begin with.
That's true. It's also hard. It's also, I feel like, hard to catch these people, right?
Right.
Like what you got to catch them in the act almost.
They'll be wearing a hat and sunglasses or something. They just come and take it. Again, I respect the effort. I just don't know what that's really going to do.
Respect the effort.
I do. I respect the effort. Because even in the little notes we have on this, looking on the other side of the country where this whole smash and grab thing, as long as you don't take $500 worth or over that, you're okay. Florida, It's like we're trying to do something about it, but I don't know what that's going to do.
Yeah. I see so many TikToks or videos, of people doing this from their Nest cams or whatever. You see the recordings. So this is a thing for sure. And so to your point, glad they're making some attempt to curb this or prevent it. Or make it more riskier for a thief, right?
Well, I guess. It's like, if you're gonna lock them up and throw away the key, I just. To your point, how do you find them? I don't know, unless it's like your next door neighbor who did it, and you go over there and you'd be like, "Carol, I was looking at the camera footage. I think you took my stuff. I got to put that out there. Do you want to see it? You play it on your phone because you can do all that cool stuff with it now, and I'm gonna have to press charges." Again, but it's like, but it never works like that. It might be like, a vagrant or somebody who just kind of comes through and takes it, runs it over to the pawn shop. I don't know. I didn't even have Amazon Prime until recently. I finally caved on it. And I always think about that now. I'm like, God, people could just take stuff off my porch. And I would.
How did you watch TV?
What do you mean? How did I watch TV?
Use Amazon Prime to watch TV?
No. Well, I know their shows aren't very good.
Yeah.
Well, so now that they've finally are starting to show, you can watch all the Rocky movies on there and a few other things. That's kind of cool. It's all about trying to buy up the rights to things. But
that's what it is. You thought you were going to get, you weren't going to have to pay for 100 things when this new app version of watching TV came out, and before you knew it, you have like 20 different subscriptions, right? So, but I was going to make a comment about this. What we have seen a lot here in Boca Raton, I've experienced it, is people running through the neighborhoods, and if your car's out, they'll just try your door in the middle of the night, right? They'll try your car door, and if it's unlocked, well, they're going through your car. If it's not unlocked, They just keep it moving. And so they run through the neighborhood. They'll find somebody that left their wallet in the door, and they'll snag everything that's in there. I had forgotten one night to lock my door, or at least I think unless they jimmied it, but I don't think so. I think it was me that forgot to lock it, and somebody jumped in my car, and I had like, I don't know, drills and like, equipment for just working on a house. And they took all of it.
What were you up to, Dexter? Like, what did you have in there?
Hacksaws.
I'm not like, okay, yeah.
and bolt cutters. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's, again, it's like, I respect the effort. I just don't know how much it's going to change things, but
yeah.
Let's
get into the next one.
All right. So here is House Bill 1007. This is the nicotine dispensing devices. Now, I had mentioned to you off camera earlier today when I first saw that. I'm like, well, what the heck is a nicotine dispensing device? Like, I was picturing an old cigarette machine with like nicotine patches that you can get out of them, like a snack machine. But no, they're referring to like inhalers. I assume vape pens and stuff. Yeah, vape. I mean, that's the only other thing that makes the most sense, because according to the bill, the state attorney general will create a directory of all nicotine manufacturers selling dispensers that are deemed to be, quote unquote, attractive to minors. And that was the line that got my attention. I was like, so how do we decide what kind of nicotine dispensing is attractive to minors? Does it have Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny on it? Like hey, I can't do a Mickey Mouse. I'm not even going to attempt it. But you know what I mean? It's like, so under this law, businesses are prohibited from selling such nicotine dispensers, and retailers that already have one will have 60 days to remove the product. So I guess I guess you can only order this stuff online now. What happens to vape shops and things?
I think vape shops still stick around. I think just specific manufacturers, they've been talking about this for a while. Specific manufacturers now will have to tailor their marketing differently if it's deemed, attractive to children, right? That's my interpretation of this law. So
I don't even know if I've ever actually seen an ad for a nicotine dispensatory product.
I think more so marketing from the perspective of like how the box looks, how the vape pen feels or is or exists, like what colors it might be, things like that. I've heard people talk about it like that. So I think that's the
so what colors are attractive to minors versus adults?
I have no idea. I have no.
Does it have like rainbows on it? If it has a unicorn?
I don't think you can put like Taylor Swift branded, Now
that is a sponsorship idea,
right? She'd sell out, man. She'd sell out.
I pictured like Flintstone vitamins, except they're nicotine dispensing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. So in case you're wondering, if these businesses don't discontinue the products deemed attractive to minors, they can be fined up to $1,000 per day. They continue to offer such a dispenser. So that's, I don't know who would continue selling something like that after being threatened with, being fined $1,000 a day. But hey, nicotine, we're curbing it. What's that?
If you're selling enough of these, I don't know if that $1,000 a day is a real thing for them, right? If you really think about it, right?
But
so
all right. We're stopping crime here. Saving the world. I mean, you don't even what is the age for tobacco now? 21, isn't it? I don't even think it's not even 18 anymore, right?
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up.
I don't follow these things anymore. It's just like whatever.
21.
Now,
you're right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, times have changed, my friend. I mean, it's like, I don't know who can get their hands on it anyway.
No, they figure it out. Anyway, moving on.
Okay. So, all right, here we go. House Bill 1049. This is This is actually interesting because it ties into the last video we did. This one is flood disclosure in the sale of real property. Now, it aims to require residential property sellers to provide a flood disclosure to a buyer. Tell me about this one, Larry.
Yeah, this is interesting. It feels like this is a good thing, right? We should just disclose, more information about the property so buyers know the answer. I think that's pretty straightforward. The reality is if you're represented by a good agent, you're not gonna not know this. You're gonna get the answer pretty quickly, whether it's right before you go under contract, while you're visiting the property or thinking about visiting the property, or during the due diligence period. You're going to know the answer, primarily because a good agent will obviously help you get the home inspected. And then from there, you're going to take those inspection reports and push them immediately to insurance broker. And when you do that, the insurance broker is going to quickly ask or give you feedback on what type of insurance policies you're going to need. If you're in specific flood zones, or any flood zone, frankly, you're going to need flood insurance if you are getting a loan. So again, you'll know that right away during the due diligence period. Now you will have gone through a bit of you will have been under contract, and you will have spent money, and you will have spent some time on this deal before you knew that. But again, that you will find that out. Now, if you're not represented by a good agent and you don't send your stuff to an insurance broker during the due diligence period, well, there you go. You're not going to know. So this is helpful, I think, to just protect homeowners and prospective buyers and consumers. So, yeah.
Which I was going to say, if you are a realtor representing a buyer, isn't there an obligation to make sure you find out that information anyway, whether the homeowner provides it or not? That's where I'm confused.
Yeah, but there's so many agents out there that just don't know themselves, unfortunately.
So this must happen a lot then.
I don't want to like blow up agents, but like I just went to a house that someone asked me to come list and or provide a cash offer to. And I get there, and that someone is a licensed agent, and I'm walking through this house, and he bought it 3 months ago, is flipping it. And I walk through the house, and I'm like, oh my God, he's flipping it. He did work here. This looks like it needs a full gut right now. Like, what work did he do? And so there's people out there that are operating as real estate agents that are just not in the know. They have no experience. They don't know what they're doing. Their standard levels are very different than, the way we operate our business. But yeah, so I think this is good, though, to say a buyer comes direct to a listing agent. This is good. This will be, a formal disclosure. It's fine. No big deal. You know what also is interesting? Like when you're talking about flood stuff, there's FEMA maps that you can go pull up right away and look really quickly and see, are you in an X flood zone, or are you in what type of flood zone? And you and I were talking about this, I don't know, weeks ago when we were talking about flood zone stuff, and just because you're on the water doesn't mean you're in a flood zone. So most actually listings that we have on the water, like, they're not in flood zones. And then other homes in random neighborhoods across South Florida, a few of them will be in a flood zone, and then 5 homes over won't be, right? It depends on elevations. So it's a thing to really check out, and it's good to check the maps. Yeah.
I'm just amazed it took legislation for something like this, that I would just hope as a buyer that, I guess you're assuming too much that your realtor would be on top of something like that, because that seems like a pretty obvious thing. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. I'm reading through what the form is going to look like, or what it's going to say. A flood insurance policy disclaimer must be provided stating flood insurance. Homeowners insurance policies do not include coverage for damage resulting from floods. So, like, again, they should be coached on that very quickly and easily. And buyer is encouraged to discuss the need to purchase separate flood insurance coverage with buyer's insurance agent. The seller must state whether he or she has filed a claim with an insurance provider related to flood damage or the property. I think some of this comes from that last sentence I read. I think there's situations where people have not disclosed that, and whether that's legal today or not to not disclose that that's happened, it's important. It's important for people to know that and to disclose. It's just fair. It's just fair, right? So, yeah.
All right. Moving on, we have the House Bill 1171, schemes to defraud, which, fraud's a crime. I don't know if you were aware of that. But this one, the law reclassifies certain fraud cases that are committed against those 65 years old or above, minors, or people with a mental or physical disability. So in other words, if you are a genuine cut above POS, you're going to, I guess, it almost feels like it's like the hate crime equivalent of fraud. That's what this feels like,
Yeah. So now you're going to get a life felony, right? Is that what this is?
Yes.
Okay.
Steeper penalties. First degree misdemeanors are upgraded to third degree felonies, and first degree felonies are upgraded to a life felony. Which I was gonna say, I mean, life in prison for first degree fraud. That's interesting. I mean, it's like, and I'm sure, especially, in your line of work, you deal with a lot of retired people who are coming down here who fit that 65 years or older up. I'm sure fraud probably, it's probably pretty common, taking advantage of people. Because it ties in a little bit into what we were just talking about. It's like, as a realtor, I would hope that you would be on top of all these things, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're trying to get away with something. It's like, I don't know. Do you run into things like this?
So I have a little story about this right now. So we obviously work with a number of senior citizens, some of which are not even present on the planet anymore, right? And unfortunately, don't have support from anyone, don't have family members, don't have anything. So in those circumstances, we've become versed at this because unfortunately it happens, I don't know, every other month we're dealing with someone like this. And so when we walk into a situation where we get called in, and sometimes it's called in directly by the person who's like not really there, but we're working the neighborhood. They have our card. The helper at the house calls us in. We bring in everybody who could possibly be involved in this. That's the person that's helping that person stay alive. Like usually they have a live-in nurse or something that's just kind of there and been designated to do that. Sometimes, and most times, they have some kind of attorney that's either aware of what's going on or not entirely, because their attorney's responsibility is not to like manage that person's life. It's just to manage specific parts of the person's situation. And so we tag in the attorney, and we bring in the attorney. And if we need to bring in another attorney, we bring in another attorney. And so we typically don't take steps or actions to help someone like that sell their home until we have clear direction from legal counsel to do that. And the reality is we could probably have sold people's houses without that. And that's the scary part, right? If someone else was called in besides us, they could have bought the house right from under them, as an example, right? And bought it for a price that's not favorable, or not helping this person figure out where they need to go next. That's a big part of the puzzle. It's like these people don't even know where they're going to go next. They need to sell the house because they're going to lose the house if they don't sell it, because they can't maintain it and they can't pay for any bills and so on and so forth. And they also need the cash from the house to continue to live until they, for the next few years until they pass. And so, we arrange for all of that. We bring in the right people to kind of help consult and get them to the next step. And it's happened for sure. We've seen the aftermath of some of those situations where somebody just comes in, slips in, buys it, and that happens. And so there's a situation where we have a a client that has sold property with us. Just so happened to get involved with one of the neighbors. The neighbor is now in a dementia facility or of some sort. They now have power of attorney, and as soon as they call me to sell this house, I'm like, okay, let's just everybody CYA here. Like, I understand you're trying to do the right thing to help this guy, have enough money to pay for his dementia facility for the next 5 years by selling this house. But how did you get the POA? We need to vet that through title and get title already prepared and good with that. We need to tag in the attorney that did the POA. I need to talk to him. We need to understand that this is good. I'll even go meet the dementia patient if possible. And we'll just kind of all do a powwow together and make sure this is all above board. And that was my recommendation to this couple that's helping this neighbor. And it's important. It's important because there's already other neighbors that are judging this neighbor for helping because they think that they're trying to take advantage of them. And so you can sense the tensions and what could come of that if one of these neighbors decides to sue them for not doing the right thing, and now they could go to jail for life.
Yeah,
so do it right.
Again, I mean, and it must be one of those things where it's prevalent enough that they felt the need for legislation for it, because this is a much more conservative state. It's not something where, like California, where somebody draws breath the wrong way. It's like up we need regulation on that one. So it's like just so when you see something like that and you're like, wow, this must be a real thing. This is I think this is happening. So
I think so.
All right. Well, the next one is one I know really hits close to home with you. I know you like sleeping out at Meisner Park, and wherever life takes you, if Dana throws you out of the house. This is House Bill 1365, Public Camping and Sleeping, which prohibits county governments from allowing people to regularly camp or sleep on public properties, buildings, or rights of way unless the county designates a property for that purpose. So maybe they'll designate certain spots for you to camp out if you like. But, essentially this was intended to keep homeless people from like camping out wherever they want to camp out. So,
I mean, I'm sure people have their opinions on this law. At face value, in spirit, sounds like a good thing to me. So,
because obviously the mess they had in other states, particularly on the West Coast. I mean, you've seen it. Well, right. The viral videos, like particularly in downtown Los Angeles and Seattle, where, I mean, my God, they got tents going up and down the main drags of streets. And it's like, and I felt bad. I think it was like a CBS Sunday Morning. I saw a story where, there were businesses, people were having to shut down and close up shop and leave because it's like, nobody's coming in here now. Who wants to go around a bunch of tents that are somehow legally put on the sidewalk, to go into the shop? They don't want to.
To me, that doesn't create an environment where people want to become more prosperous or like people don't want to be there. People, right? The people that are working and productive people in the society are not going to spend time there. They're not going to invest in real estate there. Right. They're not going to open their businesses there. So it really just the opposite happens. I think
it's literally head scratching to me. I don't get it. And it's really the safety issue as well. I mean,
yes,
obviously a lot of people, if you've ever, worked with people that are struggling, oftentimes there's a lot of mental health issues. I mean, they're very unsafe to themselves and other people. I know it's been an ongoing issue in West Palm Beach, like on Clematis, which for anyone who watched this and they're not familiar with it, there are a lot of homeless people there. I mean, I've encountered it. I mean, they're not just, panhandling. I mean, they're very brazen about it. And if you're not used to that kind of thing, it can be kind of intimidating.
Yeah, I agree. So I think this is a very Florida thing to roll out. And I think, I like Florida. So.
Well, right. I think it's interesting to me because it's such a different policy from other things that we've seen in the national headlines over the past couple of years now. This has been going on.
Yeah. Before we move on to the next one, I want to give a special shout out to Special K. Thanks for joining. Oh, and James Alcide. Welcome, my man.
Oh, hey, James Alcide. I think I know you.
I Special K, you're dealing with some of that hurricane. It looks
Yeah.
like
Be
my
safe out
dad's
there.
in Sarasota, and so I've been
Oh,
checking in with
wow.
him
They're getting
regularly.
hit. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. So he just got his generator, so he's probably all pumped to use it anyway. So that's good for him.
Yeah. That's what I like about you, Larry. You always find the silver lining to these things.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. This isn't so much a new state law that we're going to talk about here. This is more something that ties into what we were just discussing with House Bill 1365. This is it measures to try to curb homelessness and things like that, which this is one of those where I'm not even being sarcastic. I respect, people trying to find ways to serve the community. Obviously, the homelessness and that whole crisis is not a simple solution, or I'd like to think we'd already have it. Now you have the mayor of the Palm Beach County, and essentially the gist of it is they are trying to build mini cottages to try to put, roof over the head of the 2,000 some odd people in Palm Beach County who are listed as homeless, to, try to help them out. This Mayor Maria Sachs says the best approach to house the homeless is to build mini cottages or mini homes that can be built from a kit that costs $14,000. But you don't just have the roof. Let's say you want to add sewage, water, electricity hookups. That total cost will be in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $40,000 per home, which is obviously that's going to be a lot more.
Yeah, I in my investing, my other thing that I do, right? I buy multifamily property. We've experimented. We own stuff in some rougher neighborhoods, and we've experimented working with charities, where the charities, in fact, will help pay in full for a year of an apartment unit that we might have, or multiple apartment units. And there's landlords in the area that exclusively do this, and they work with these charities. And that seems to be effective at helping people get housing, right? And it gives them, and basically how it works is they'll pay a year of the rent for these people who are homeless, and put them in and try to help them, and give them counsel and help them get back on their feet. And then after the year, those people in theory have a job, and they're making enough money to pay this rent amount, and they might subsidize the rent for the next year, or they might just turn them loose and say, hey, here's how you go, how you do it. That I think has some level of effectiveness. This is interesting. I mean, 40,000 a door, when you're thinking multifamily assets, 40,000 a door is super cheap for South Florida, right? I mean, the cheapest, I don't know, apartment you could buy that's a 1 bedroom, 1 bath is probably in the range of 125,000, 150,000 a door, if you're talking multifamily stuff. And there's, I mean, if you look that up right now on LoopNet or something, you probably wouldn't find anything in that price range, but you might be able to pull that off, 150, 175. So thinking from a multifamily guy, 40,000 a unit. Okay, cool. I guess my question is where are you going to put these? Like, where is there dirt to make this happen? Dirt is so expensive in Palm Beach County. You'd have to go way west. But the problem with like going way west is now you put these people who need work and probably don't have transportation close to where they would work. They're no longer close to where they would work. So that is the question I have for the mayor.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I mean, they have some of those projects going on in Lotus. I'm sure they'll just donate some of that,
Yeah, GL.
It's their heart. Why not? Right, GL Homes. Why not?
GL will start throwing up $40,000 shanties here. No problem. Yeah.
It's a dilemma. I mean, and some of the stuff we've talked about that we've done videos in the past. James here is saying West Boca. I think of What is it? Dixie Manor, which is that much older workforce housing community here. And I mean, that's essentially the only one in Boca. Am I right? Or pretty much?
Yeah. That
And
would
that's been around since literally World War II.
Yep. And that's subsidized or fully subsidized depending. Right. And that, I mean, that's full. There's that's full. And there's maybe 100. How many did we say there were in there, or something like that? 100, and they're going to build more. But building more is going to be expensive to build what they're talking about building.
They've been sitting on that for a while.
That would be much more expensive as far as the rent would go for those units. Any news on Ocean Breeze development in Boca Chica, Peter? Good question. And I see your comment, Special K, on unaffordable no matter where you are in Florida.
There's a lot of truth to that. No, it's a big part of the problem. I mean, we've been talking about the West Coast, and I know California's that's one thing that they have in common is, I mean, just the cost of living anywhere. It just seems like it's crazy.
My sellers and buyers, mostly this is comment towards most of my sellers. My sellers ask me, hey, why isn't my place selling, or why don't some of the landlords we have, why aren't we renting at, why isn't this thing renting fast? If they're surprised that things aren't renting at these prices, I'm like, because we're at like peak unaffordability right now. Like this is South Florida is wild. And to your point, Special K, I've been shopping for multifamily assets throughout Florida, all the way up to the Panhandle, frankly, because it's cheaper there. And I've toured recently a lot of property in Jacksonville. I've toured a lot of bigger multifamilies in the Space Coast, and it's still expensive. To your point, it's like it, and even when looking at that math as an investor, it's not like a good return either, because things are so expensive. So we've been in a bit of a holding pattern on the investment side for a year or two now, because we had just had, not because we think things or believe things. It's because every time we pencil something in, it just doesn't work. We rather keep our money in our pockets. So yeah, I mean, again, to your point, John, this is like this is good if there's like an actual like plan that's drawn up that makes sense and it pencils.
It's just an idea. It's an actual, right. There's some blueprints to it.
Yeah. Let's stop with the just like, I don't know, the political, I have a plan, or
here's the concept of a plan. Right.
Concept of a plan. I haven't thought through it whatsoever. and let's actually talk through the mechanics of that and talk about how that's really going to work. And maybe they do have a plan. Maybe there is something interesting here. But I do like the idea of building cheap homes. I have my concerns about building cheap homes, because when you tell me you're going to build a $40,000 home, that usually means it's not going to be a concrete block construction. It's going to be something.
Can they do that?
Believe it or not, in Lake Worth right now, they're probably already done with this project. This is months ago. But I have an asset next to a big project that's going up. I mean, probably like 400 units or something that was approved in Lake Worth, just west of 95. Stick. I mean,
really? Stick. I thought they couldn't even do it anymore.
I was under the impression that they definitely couldn't do it in these bigger buildings. I mean, this is a 5-6 story building. I'm sure they have some steel throughout that, right? But the framing and everything stick. And then this goes back to like, it costs a lot of money to build stuff. So that's why these guys, whoever these developers are just like, let's do that. And they're probably a developer from outside the area where, to think about building stick is very common. That's what people do in other parts of the country, right? It's not a negative thing. So anyway.
All right. Well,
let's go from
cheap. I was going to say, what's up?
What is it James saying here? I saw them shackles of a home. Okay, James. Yeah. Let me address Peter's question here. Any news on Ocean Breeze development in Boca Chica? We are probably going to do an update on that. John and I have put together a video previously on this topic. My understanding, and this news is probably a month or two old, and maybe more. And Peter, you might know more than I do right at this moment, because we haven't circled back to check in on it. Was they've approved some concepts for parts of the project. So, and I believe what's going to happen is they're going to finish parts of the project at different times. They're going to finish one at a time and move on. So I think pickleball is going in there for sure. And I think that's part of the project that is going to be started sooner than later, based on the last conversation I had with people at the city and people who are familiar with the matter. So we'll get back to you. We'll update you on that. That's a good topic for us to dig into and have some conversations about, because it's been a minute since we did an update on that. So yeah.
I guess the next thing we have on tap here is our good friend Billy Joel. You may have heard of him. He's been a music legend for 40 plus years now. I'm sure he has a number of estates throughout Florida. We know of at least two, one of which is right here in Boca, but one that just that's made the news is his Manalapan estate. I typed that in. That's on me. I know, right? I can't do anything right.
Pull it together, John.
But I know. Well, like you had the MLS pulled up before we hopped on here.
I'll pull it up. I'll share.
This is at his 1110 South Ocean Boulevard, which I'm sure is probably near Stephen M. Ross as well. I noticed his huge place is in Manalapan. I guess that's where like the ultra, you got like tiers of wealth, and then it's like, I'm sure this kind of is sort of at the top. Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is, it's only like 13,000 square feet though. I mean, that's a lot, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting. So this is the listing, right? For 49.9 million. Let me show you where it is. So here's what I don't understand about Manalapan. Look at this. So,
and that's where they all are. It's like one street.
It's all here, which is cool. And there's a bunch of wealth here. And this is the billionaires section, right? So really neat, beautiful homes on the water. One of the cool parts about it, usually, not always, but you can put your boat, your big yacht on one side, and then you have your ocean views on the other, right? Which is nice. So that's a feature of some of the Manalapan homes. But like, I don't like, and I get Palm Beach. I get the fact that if you drive up all the way up from where he's at, up here, and you're in Palm Beach Island, which is fun. You got the breakers, you got all these fancy, really wealthy people things. But I just don't understand living here and then saying, oh, I'm going to, go into downtown. I guess you go to, Palm Beach Island. I guess that's what you do. Or maybe you jump in your chopper, your helicopter picks you up and just flies you to somewhere. Cause like, I don't know, going to grab, and again, this is me being probably naive, because I guess if you're this wealthy, you're probably not doing this, but you're not going to like the Publix here on Lantana, right? Because that's it's a very different experience right here.
I was gonna say, right. I've been around there a little bit.
I own property right over here, and I can tell you it's not like, I own rental property here. It's like not the nicest place. If you're a billionaire or somebody who owns a $50 million property, you don't want that. So that's what I just genuinely don't understand about living here, which might be why our buddy Billy Joel bought in Boca, right down the street from where I'm at, and right across the street from where you're at, John.
I know. I was gonna say humble brag, but I'm obviously at a little condo. That's why it's so funny. Like when I'm trying to impress my friends, where I'm like, yeah, Billy Joel lives in the neighborhood right across the street from me, as if it is anywhere close to that tier, of living. Yeah, it's like that's like so Florida though.
That's true. It changes so quick, and Manalapan's a perfect example of that. Boca though is just genuine. Like where you live is nice. Where Billy Joel lives is obviously next level, but it's not. Lantana to Palm Beach Island.
There's the contrast is
very different contrast.
Yeah.
And so this place, I mean, look at this. I mean, this is epic.
Well, no, I was gonna say put it back up, because I want to ask you a question.
There you go. I thought
if you look at the shore right there, I guess I haven't really seen that. I assume like what does that work? Just to help prevent flooding? I don't even know.
I mean,
Just
this is
the house
serious.
was built on a more elevated spot. What is that?
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly. I think it's an erosion prevention mechanism, right? You could see over here they used like corrugated metal. This is all concrete. I mean, this is probably a more expensive execution, for sure. So yeah.
What's the point? Because when I saw that story and I was looking up some pictures initially, I hadn't seen that. And I was like, what? Oh,
So like on some of the homes that we've dealt with that are on the ocean and have represented on the buy or sell side, we've had there's requirements around what you can and can't do, like right here. So here in Manalapan, it's obvious that they the billionaires probably got the privilege of removing all the plant material that typically most waterfront is supposed to have to help prevent erosion. And so instead of having the plants there, they now have this concrete to help prevent the erosion because otherwise when a storm surge comes, I mean this the water will be in his pool. Yeah, or at least chewing away and eating away at the dirt that's on his perfectly maintained.
I was saying, no, well, in this case,
that
looks like,
yeah.
Is that AstroTurf? I can't.
It might be AstroTurf. This is epic. Look at this.
What a dump.
What a dump. Yeah. Let's judge it right now. Can you believe that?
Oh my, yeah, I know, right? Suddenly it's like, oh, why are we in Tuscany now?
I wouldn't choose those railings. Come on, Billy.
As if he's ever there, ever.
Right. Oh, he's got a piano.
When this says they replenish the sand, I believe it's just like I said. I'm not familiar
That's
with
an expensive thing, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So the last one we were dealing with, there was a part of the deal was that the entity that owned or that was responsible for like 10 of the homes in that area, they paid for putting sand and replenishing the sand there, and it was only like $1,000 a month a fee versus what it normally probably is one-off is probably way more expensive to do that. So anyway, they get charged for the sand. It's a huge burden it costs a lot of money to own something on the water like this on the ocean,
right.
Which is probably another reason why Billy Joel was like, I'm not using this. Why am I spending all this money? Let me just go live in the sanctuary, which is on the water, but the maintenance on an intercoastal property versus an oceanfront property, very, very different.
Now,
way more
in
expensive.
terms of the financials on this place, noticed on the article, they're saying that Billy had shaved off nearly $15 million from his initial asking price. Does that indicate anything in your eyes? I mean, did anything else about that stand out to you as the real estate broker?
Yeah, well, I mean, check this out. I mean, I pulled this up just out of curiosity as we were talking about this. I mean, here's all the active and closed listings in the past year in that general area on the ocean for the most part. And you can see there's some actives as high as, look at this, $95 million, right? Which is interesting. Yeah. But Billy's is the highest sold is only 38 million. Now it's a 10,000 square foot home. And if you look at the comp, it's also right close by. So I think he was probably asking a lot and early on, and now he's finally got it under contract. Now he was on the market for, over, 8 months or something like that before he went pending, which is interesting as well. So my guess is, there was some negotiation here. He started at 54 million this time around. I know a year or 2 years ago, or however many years ago, he had it at something in the 60s, right? But it looks like look at this one. This one's 15,000 square foot home on about the same size as Billy's, our buddy Billy, 12 bedrooms. He traded for 32 million, and he's right by Billy. Yeah, right by Billy. So I don't know. I think Billy's probably getting the market value for his property.
Well, I was going to say, is it common when you get to like that tier of real estate to just put it on the market and let it sit because you know it's going to be sitting there for a while anyway? Or do they treat it like anybody else where you leave it on for a couple months, but then it just doesn't, it's not as appealing because it's been sitting there?
Well,
I mean, I'd imagine it's like a totally different breed of animal when you're dealing with that kind of sale.
I think like as you scale up in the price points, you know, we do stuff in the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 price range, right? And then we do stuff in, you know, the 9s, the 10s, the 5s million range. And so when you get up in those numbers, you got to change the way you're thinking about what $100,000 means, or what $1 million means, or what $10 million means in this price range, right? It's like the guy that has enough money to pay for a $49 million home probably has enough money to pay for the $95 million home here. It's just his choice. He doesn't want to just commit so much financially over here to that. And he's made a choice to, okay, enough is enough. We're only going to spend, you know, 50 million on this 15th home in Boca Raton. So you see what I'm saying?
I mean, you're getting right to my point. And the reason I bring it up is because of our infamous Boca trophy. I mean, I think it's still sitting there on the market, isn't it?
It is. Oh, here, let's hold on. We've been ignoring some of the chat here.
Well, I haven't. You were on a roll. I just kind of let you go. I mean,
okay. What is Linda from Boca? What do you got going on, Linda? It's only 15 minutes from Manalapan to Worth Ave, taking A1A. I get that. I don't know. I just is Worth Ave worth it? Linda, I'm just calling it what it is. I don't know. If you're living a $50 million lifestyle, I was
gonna say, well, if that's the case, I don't know what is.
I
don't have that problem. I wouldn't know.
I think Boca. I think driving through what it takes to get to Worth Ave from there. You know, I guess you could drive up A1A and over on Worth Ave. I guess that's okay. I don't see the allure of spending all that money there. I'm more of I would either want to be really close to Palm Beach Island, like really close to on Palm Beach Island if I was when I make $50 million, and or I'd probably be in Boca, somewhere that's feels a little bit more like homogenous throughout when it comes to just quality of real estate and restaurants and all that. Don't get me wrong, Lake Worth, I own a ton of property in Lake Worth, and I believe in Lake Worth. But I just question if I was a billionaire or something, if I would buy there. So
really, were you the driving force behind it becoming Lake Worth Beach?
So Linda does have, I was the influence there. Linda does have a point. The private clubs, which we're not exposed to, right? Like, is probably the big driving force to be close to be in Manalapan. She has a point there. That's I
had no idea Don King was there. He's
Lake Worth scares me. Same, Linda. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Linda. That's it's I've spent a little time there.
So John and I were filming in Lake Worth. Like I don't know when, whatever, like months and months and months ago.
Yeah, I'd say it was late last year, maybe.
Yeah, and gosh, we're trying to film, and there's these hobos are hanging out with us, like trying to get on camera.
I totally forgot about that.
They were so pumped about the gadgets we had. I mean, they were all nice guys.
And they're asking the prices of it, and I was just like, I was just downplaying it because I don't tell them anything's worth something.
That was funny. I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Right. I was like, you get it for like $5. I got this from the dollar store.
Yeah. None of this is
I don't want to tell them anything's worth something.
Don't stab me. Yeah. Yeah. They were all nice guys though. And
that was funny. I totally forgot about that.
But we're like trying to shoot, and they're like kind of like in it, like
you're doing a stand up. I have this nice drone shot rotating. You're on the edge of a pier, and it's like I'm trying to angle it so you can't see the guy sleeping on the bench right behind you.
Yeah, that was great. Or the boats that were like dilapidated and broken down in the water right in front of us. Yeah, that's right. So. Yeah, Lake Worth, it's got upside.
Unique. It's got character.
It's got character. Yeah.
No, I had no idea about Don King. I'm sure. I was gonna say, Linda, is there like a celebrity website that just has a list of everybody who lives on that street? I'd imagine there is. Now I'm kind of curious. I mean, Yanni. Anyway,
that's cool.
That is cool.
Well, we'll move on from Billy Joel, I think, here,
Oh
right?
yeah, I was gonna say you wanted to talk about this, which I understand. I mean, especially with James being a realtor as well. The National Association of Realtors settlement, which was, I guess, a pretty big deal. I mean, it was in all the national news syndications and so on. You know what? Before I even read some of the details, Larry, you're talking to a pretty ordinary guy without a lot of background knowledge on this sort of thing. Just layman's terms, sum it up. Why was this such a big deal?
I'm going to do my best here, and I'm sure.
Is it that hard? I'm just curious. Is it really that difficult? Was it that intricate?
It's not that it was that intricate. I think it was. I think the theme here is of the settlement is just increased transparency and consumer protection, right? I think, and I don't think the element of price fixing or monopoly which has been used in discussion or in association with this, is entirely valid in my opinion. And I don't know if they got this right, this judgment right, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with the attorney who brought this to court and sued all these people and all that good stuff. But I'd say the gist of the execution here is increasing transparency and making sure buyers and sellers know what they're paying for in a transaction and making it clear who's paying for what. I think the changes that were made complicate that goal a little bit. We've had some experiences since the changes that make me feel that way and make me question if the old way wasn't better. And the reality is nothing's really changed, while some things maybe technically have changed, right? And what I mean by that is commissions are the big topic of this settlement, and commissions have always been negotiable, and that was the argument. People didn't know that they could negotiate commissions. That to me sounds a little crazy because people try to negotiate commissions all the time. So I mean, what are we talking about here? So that's interesting, but maybe not everybody knew that they could negotiate commissions. Maybe it's just the savvy that knew. So again, back to protecting consumers. So overall, the policy changes, and John, jump in a minute if you're like, I don't understand.
No, I'm just, believe me, man. I'm just, I wish I had more to offer on this topic, but I don't understand it.
I think the value coming from you would be like, hey, I just explain this to me. I'm not getting it, right? Because I think the average you're like the average consumer, not entirely because you hang out with us all day, so you know a lot more, but still.
Yeah, I fake it. I'm not going to lie.
So in conclusion, the settlement stated that a few things would change. One of the big ones is that realtors cannot advertise on their listings, or sellers and realtors cannot advertise on their listings that what compensation they would be willing to give a buyer's representative, a buyer's agent. So
did that used to happen a lot?
Say again?
I said, did that happen a lot? I mean, did you see?
Always. Every
Really?
listing stated what commission a buyer's agent would get when they brought a buyer to the property, which was nice and clear. Everybody knew, at least in the agent world, everybody knew what they would get. If the seller was willing to give, I don't know, half a point, he could put that there. I mean, it's unlikely that would be there because the conversation as a listing agent would be like, if you offer a half a point, it's unlikely that agents are going to want to show your property. Buyer's agents are going to want to show your property, right? And therein lies the question about, hey, is this price fixing by putting up that information, right? So, right. I kind of get that. I kind of get that. So yeah,
I mean, did you think it was? I mean,
I don't think there's a better. I don't know if there's a better. I don't know if this is a better solution to it. So here's what happens now. So you're no longer posting as a listing agent, hey, I'll offer 2.5%. Now what we just do is we either get phone calls or we get, broker commission agreements sent to us before they show the property, and we have to sign these broker to broker commission agreements saying, yes, we will compensate you 2.5% or 3% or whatever the number is that's been agreed upon in that document to the buyer's agent. And then the buyer's agent shows the property. So you can imagine us carrying 20 to 40 listings at any given time. You're doing that a lot. So the transparency within that, it's less for realtors. The realtors don't know off the bat what they're going to get paid or compensated. And so that creates less transparency. Also, now let's take it a step further. If you're a buyer's and you have a buyer's agent. Now a buyer's agent needs to have a signed document in order to legally run around a buyer and show them homes, right? They need to have a signed document that states what they're going to do with that buyer, what the compensation might be, and how long that agreement's going to be good for, all different things. And people are coming out with different types of compensation agreements for a buyer representation now too. So that's the second piece of the puzzle. So you can't advertise on the MLS what you're going to pay a buyer's agent, and then a buyer's agent must have a buyer's agency agreement signed with the buyer that they are running around with property. I like the second piece in the sense that it kind of professionalizes our business a little bit. Like Mr. Buyer, you need to agree to work with me. This is no longer just a fun field trip for you, and you can just do whatever you want and walk away from us at any given time. Now it's, hey, we have an agreement, we have an understanding. So signing this document, I think, increases transparency. I think that's good. But on this document now, because the MLS no longer shows what a agent or what a seller will pay a buyer's agent, the buyer's agency agreement states basically, hey, I will work for 3% as a buyer's agent. If I can get it from the seller, great. We're getting it from the seller. If I can't get it from the seller, you owe me the difference, whatever that is. So So now buyers need to think real hard and long about who they want to work with, which I think is good because that will hopefully up the professionalism of our buyers agents in the field. Now the big thing is now I kind of glossed over this, is the sellers to put a listing on the MLS. They don't have to. It used to be you had to offer some amount of compensation to a buyer's agent in order to even be listed on the MLS. It had to be at least $1. Like, it couldn't be zero. We'll put it that way. Now it can be zero. That's the whole thing, right? You can put, as a listing agent, I can put the listing on the MLS and not offer any buyers compensation. Is that wise? Especially in a market like this? I don't. Right. I mean, I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think most sellers get this. So that's why I'm saying it didn't change much because some of these rules changed and how we do things change a little bit. But like the reality is buyers agents are running buyers. Buyers still want representation because it's a real thing and it matters. And buyers agents do add value. Good ones do, at least, not the ding dongs, but the good ones do.
The ones that are looking for the flood disclosure.
Yeah, exactly. So good ones add value. So buyers tend to want buyers agent representation. And so if they're running around with a buyer agent, they're gonna want the buyer's agent. They're gonna want the buyer's agent to be compensated. Rarely, occasionally, since this has happened, I mean, once or twice, I've had a seller say, "Hey, the seller," and again, this goes back to the listing agent, out to lunch, but the listing agent puts a listing on the market for this seller, and it's way overpriced. We offer her the fair market price, and we send over the 3% commission agreement, that the seller will pay it. And they're like, oh, the seller won't pay commission to the buyer's agent. I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. Let me tell my buyer and tell my buyer. My buyer's like, we're not working with them. He's just like, that's it. We're just going to another house.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, are these people out of their mind? Yeah. So
James had a good question here. How do you think this will impact buyers in a seller's market like we had during COVID?
That's James. You and I have riffed on this in the past, but I think, or at least I think I riffed on it with you. But like, if this change happened when like COVID was peak, like when we were crushing it, oh man, that would be a totally different thing. I feel like because most people were actively trying to go direct to listing agents because they were trying to win the listing because there was 20 offers on a property, right? So that time buyers agents were kind of less necessary or less important, or kind of people were trying to avoid them. So I think this commission compression might have happened more dramatically at that time if this rule was in place then, or started, or was rolled out right in that moment. But now in this market, just in a neutral market or a buyer's market, I just know I don't think this is there's going to be very much commission compression. At least that's how I feel right now after it's been a little over 30 days that we've been doing this. And so we've transacted probably 15 to 20 times since then, since the rules have changed. And I would just say, I don't feel like anything's changed, like, at all. So yeah,
that was really my only other question. It was like, how much have things changed in the month or so that this is, this new guideline has been established?
It doesn't feel like it has. So I think what everybody was freaking out about, even I don't know if you've seen this. As a realtor, we see probably a lot of stuff about what's going on with the NAR settlement and things all the time because it's in our face every day. But the attorney made what, 400? What was his
400 million in damages? Is that
he made 400 million, right? He made 400 million. Okay. So, or his firm, whatever. They made 400 million. The attorneys got paid 400 million. There was one attorney that brought it, the one guy that's like the front of this thing, right? And he's rolled out he started a company, a tech company, to basically, I would say, like, help buyers and or sellers sell without realtors, right? Which is funny to me because, again, technically nothing's changed. I mean, at least in practice, nothing's really changed. But there's been how many of these companies that have come and gone before him that are similar that are gone, so like, it's kind of interesting that he started a tech company. It's like rubbing salt in the wound, right, if you will, from a realtor's perspective. I mean, I don't care, whatever. We're going to go sell real estate. We're going to go do what we do. We're going to go add value and help customers. It doesn't matter. Whatever the rules are, whatever's right. So anyway, but I think he started a tech company recently, and he's trying to, it's just like insane. I think at the end of the day, that's the point, though. Like, we haven't. In fact, it's changed, and it's changed in the sense that it has become a little bit more paperwork intensive for the realtors, because there's not that immediate, clear disclosure to the realtors who's paying what anymore. So, yeah.
All right. I was going to say, do you have any other things you want to talk about since we're on here, or save it all for next week? Or
I think we'll save it all for next week. I'll comment on James' last comment here, but James, I just don't think I don't know. I don't think anything's going to change. I think as realtors, at least, on our team here, that if you're really competent, capable, and you continue to sharpen your skills and become really, really valuable, there's a place for you. So I don't think I worry too much about this. We'll maneuver and adapt as realtors to continue to find our place where we add value and we can get paid for that. So, Yeah. Cool.
Coolness. All right, Larry, enjoyed talking to you. And, I'll see you at work tomorrow.
All right, guys. See you on the next video. Thanks for tuning
Thanks
in.
Everybody who tuned in.
guys.
We're trying to do these every week, probably right around 6:30 p.m. on Thursdays. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later.
See you guys.